this fish has it. And now I've got him. Be a bass and not a catfish. Oh my gosh, it's a bass. Oh, I got him. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's a 7 and change. Oh my gosh.
All right, folks, we are wrapping up stop number 1 of the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals on Sam Rayburn. And Drew Gill got the win! Dude, congratulations. What was it like?
Dude, it's absolutely surreal. You know, it would have been one thing if it was a tournament where I saw it coming, but after a pretty horrible practice to have it materialize in the event and then have somebody catch an almost 40-pound bag on the second day and feel like I had no chance of coming back and then pulling out the win yesterday afternoon was something that unexpected is the word of the week for me, for sure.
All right, well, we are on the shores of Sam Rayburn now. We are right next to where you caught a bunch of key fish. What do you say we dump the boat and I get a little LiveScope lesson?
Let's get after it, dude.
All right, let's go. So Drew, we're out here now. We're in like the back of a pocket creek kind of deal. We got our little worms on. What's the plan?
So we're gonna be looking around this little flat drain here. This is what I'd call a basin drain. It's not a ditch. When I think of a ditch, I think you got a very obvious, deeper, essentially cut that runs through an area. And this area is just a basin. So it's got a deeper middle portion, which is all sand. The sides over here and over here are hydrilla. But the middle is sand and a little bit deeper, and it's, to have an area where I could consistently find them, I had to have a hard edge of cover like the hydrilla we got on both sides of here, and then I had to have a clean middle portion of sand, which is what we have right here. And with both of those, that's a perfect staging area for fish that are in the pre-spawn period on a lake with grass. And it was as textbook as I could find, and had a lot of big fish around this week.
All right, we're just gonna kind of go down the edges basically.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's go.
Dude, did you see how all three of them just killed?
Dude, they were all over it.
Oh my gosh, this sucks.
This wind is far from ideal.
They're coming at us. They're coming at us. Oh, perfect.
Oh, you're right on him. It's beautiful.
I might hit him a little bit behind. I still probably am gonna turn him.
He's turning, he's turning. You're gonna get him.
Okay, I gotta get him that time. He's coming down to it. He's coming down to it. He's coming down to it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Got him that
time. There we go. Is that a good one?
Oh, dude, the one behind it's a good one. This one's not a good one.
Beautiful.
Oh man, what a pretty fish.
That is awesome. Textbook too, right?
Yeah.
Here, right. So Drew, the Nico you were throwing has like kind of been a staple of your fishing these last few years.
Yeah, for sure.
So it wasn't anything new. Like you didn't have to go out of the box for your techniques. Rod, reel, line, bait. Like what are the details there? Because you have a finely honed system.
So this week I was throwing both the rod that's in your hands right now, the 7.6 Invoker Tour. Medium light fast, and I was also throwing this 7.3 reinforcer medium light fast. But the really important thing with a Nico, in my opinion, is not throwing like a medium heavy. That medium light is really important because you can see, I mean, how sharply this tip snaps. Even though it's a fast action and it's a really whippy rod, it's pretty limber. And so like I can take this bail, do this, and with just a little wrist flip, throw it like 50 feet, about where I need to throw it, just every time without having to rear back and really build up inertia. I can just take it and just roll my wrist and cast extremely accurately, wherever I want to cast, right there, with just one wrist flip, and I'm ready to go. And I was throwing a 6-inch worm with an 1/8 ounce Nico weight in it. It's pretty heavy Nico weight really for this size of worm.
Yeah,
but,
I know you have to be watching to watch it go down.
Yeah,
otherwise
it falls pretty fast. But in this scenario, really it was about efficiency for me because they were eating it off the bottom, which when they're eating it off the bottom, if you can throw something heavy, throw something heavier. just because it's way more efficient. You hit them the first time, and if they're willing to eat it, what you want to do is hit them as quick as possible, because as soon as they start relating your presentation of the boat or getting around, you know, what you're doing with the boat, you know, the prop, the noise of the trolling motor, you start incredibly decreasing your chances of catching those fish. And so if you can keep them away from the boat by using a heavier weight and being able to hit them the first time, you do it.
Now, I feel like scoping with a jig has kind of been a thing lately. Have you messed around with that very much? Is there a reason you didn't catch these fish on a jig?
Man, I have.
The Nico's your confidence?
I have messed around with the jig on scope, and it does work. It's just, for me, it's all about bite percentage. You know, of the fish over 2 that I have the opportunity to throw out in a day's time, I am purely focused on how many of those fish I can make commit. So, you know, let's say I throw at 10 fish in an hour.
Yep.
If I can make 8 of those commit on a Nico worm versus make 7 of those commit on a jig, and I see 10 an hour, okay? And I fished for 7 hours, let's say, you know, minus run time. That's 70 fish I threw at, and I caught 56 of them in this scenario, which this hypothetical scenario rarely is the average that high. But somebody that's throwing a jig, you know, is gonna catch 49. I caught 7 more fish than they did of fish over 2. Although maybe not all 7 may have helped me. If 1 or 2 helps me, I gained weight on 1 or 2 fish that I caught using this presentation. And there have been times where I've seen that compact jig style thing be better on scope, but those times have mostly been in the fall for me. In the fall, they really get keyed in on heavier bottom related presentations late in the fall. On your true offshore fish, when you get in that really clean water and they start getting tricky to catch, that is when I pull out the jig, but really it's not something that plays for me most of the time. It's a little bit more niche. The Nico rig, depending on how you rig it, with different, you know, size worm, different profile worm, different size weight, different size line. The Nico works, I'd say 90% of the year for, especially, we're talking about big largemouth here, like the situation we had here this week at Sam Rayburn. This presentation, if you take the time to dial it in, it is generally the best finesse presentation for catching big largemouth.
Can you kind of dial us in on your settings for shallow scoping? Because it's something you're obviously amazing at.
Absolutely, man. You know, when I go into my settings this week, and this was kind of how I had it framed. A lot of people like putting it further out. The problem with putting it further out is this image here is designed to be a certain proportion to make a fish look like a fish. If you keep the down the same, but you send the out way out, you end up cramping everything on the screen, pulling it one direction or the other. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm taking every fish that I look at and I'm trying to adjust my screen to get a fish to look like a fish and not just look like a mark or a slash or, you know, yes, you can tell it's a fish, but you can't tell exactly how big it is. You can't tell which direction it's facing. You cannot tell, you know, the species of fish without having the proper framing on your screen. And that's why I run mine a little bit closer in than most, just because I want to see everything that fish does, where he's facing, all of his body movements, and that was the key for me this week, was taking advantage of the few opportunities I had a day and making sure that I put all of them in the boat by being able to read their behaviors and lead them as well as I could.
What does it look like when you spread it out a little bit farther or something like that?
So like, for example, you see this fish right there swimming away from us?
Yep.
There's 2 of them. They look like fish right now. You can see their tail movement, you can see their head. But if I was to take my forward and put it out to 104 feet, let's say a touch over 100 feet. Now when I look at that fish, everything gets so much more squished. I can't see where he's facing. I can't see any detail about the fish. I just see that there's a fish. And that's all I really know. You know, I don't see detail. I don't see where his face is positioned. I can't read exactly where he's going very well, you know, in the way that you can whenever you've got it, like see those right there? I can tell they're fish, but other than that, I really have no information. But if I pull it in, I can look at them and I can see, you can see the body proportions of the fish. You can see how wide they are, and you can see their tail movements and things like that. You can't see that when you have it that far out, this shallow. And that was a really important key. If you're gonna put it out, you gotta put it down. If you're gonna put it down, you gotta put it out. You've got to keep the proportions right. It's like back when you were in your mom's van trying to choose between full screen and widescreen as a kid. When you put a DVD in the van DVD player, if you don't choose the right one, you're either losing part of your image or you're squishing it.
So Drew, how did it feel to actually win this thing? Because you've been close quite a bit these last couple of years. You've been on a bit of a tear.
Yeah, man, it was surreal. I have no other way to describe it. You know, it was extremely unexpected for me, and to get to finally say that I was the champion at an event. Not like, that's one thing that I watch people say, that they got first place and things like that. And I'm like, no. There's only one place that has another name for it in the standings, and that's first. You didn't get first place, you were the champion. And to be the champion of Stop 1 here at Sam Rayburn is something that I'll treasure for a very, very long time.
Cool. Well, I tell you what, it's kind of the beginning of your career, honestly. You probably have a lot in front of you, but man, I was glad to be there, and I was glad to be there, and it was just special to see you actually get it done, even though you didn't know it was coming. So, dude, congratulations.
Thanks, Jody.